Hello everybody, welcome back. Jim here, and tonight I wanted to discuss a topic that's come up recently on a lot of channels that I watch, and it's something that comes up on a fairly regular basis, and that's the topic of whether or not YouTubers are ruining quote-unquote retro gaming and game collecting. And this is something that I've seen come up recently on RGT85, Xander Scullion, Robert Santeon, Review Tech USA, and I also saw the Facebook back and forth that kind of rekindled all of this talk. Somebody decrying a lot of the YouTube retro gaming personalities. So I figured I would go ahead and throw my 2 cents in. Before I get going though, I did want to play a short clip from the Powerful stream, which is a stream that I was doing on this channel for a while, and hopefully we'll get started again soon. But this time around it was myself, Andrew, the RPG Machine 86, Carcamo, Yell Chaos, and Johnny Millennium, the Happy Console Gamer, discussing this exact topic. And it came up that in recent years, retro gaming and game collecting has started to mirror something like a religion, which I thought was an interesting view on this topic. So yeah, before I get started, here we go. Take a look at this clip from the Powerful stream.
Well, I don't know if say definitely. This is not the first retro rise. This is not the first time that retro video games got popular again. That's happened in the past. But this time around, social media was there, and it had come into its form. Suddenly, people who play old video games, we weren't alone. There was people making videos. I could watch this, and then you could feel that you weren't alone. It was a grassroots movement. And that is the sort of thing, just like the people who were firmly behind Donald Trump and the people that were firmly behind Ralph Nader whenever he runs for president, and so on and so forth. People get behind that sort of thing because it feels organic, because initially it is organic, because it's just it's similar to, and it might look weird, but to the way you would see like a Shriners convention. Look at all those people who got together and get to do something together, that happy group of people. And it all came together in a very nice fashion, and people began to tell other people about it, and it grew and grew and grew and grew. Yeah. And of course, with that, anytime you have a large grouping of people who kind of identify with an idea, then you get to religionize what you're collecting. Suddenly, Little Samson was a rare thing, and suddenly now it's a fucking valuable thing.
Hey, and to add to your argument, if you don't have a copy of Musha, then you're not a true collector. But you know what I mean? I agree with you on that.
Okay, so that's one way to look at the current state of retro gaming and game collecting. I will say personally that I do not think that YouTubers ruined retro gaming and game collecting, which is subjective anyway, whether or not you think it's ruined. But even if it is, I wouldn't put all the blame on the shoulders of a few people. I will say that YouTube and social media in general, as Yell Chaos said in the clip, effectively brought collectors and retro gamers together, made people aware of each other, and gave us all a forum that we could share this hobby with one another. And so in that way, it's popularized retro gaming and game collecting, but just popularizing something doesn't ruin it. If popularizing something ruins it for you, then you are a selfish person that wants this hobby only to yourself and a select few. And that's not really how it works. People become aware of something, and if they like it, they can gravitate to it and they can participate in it. And I think that's really cool that so many people, especially people that are much younger than my generation, can get into retro gaming and appreciate the simplicity, but also the kind of the artistry and just the awesomeness of those games, and they can enjoy them on a level that I did when I was a kid. I think that's really cool, and that's something that YouTube retro gamers should be commended for, is not only pleasing people who are already fans of these games and who are already retro gamers and collectors, but bringing new people into it, making them aware of what's going on, and kind of breathing new life into retro gaming and retro game collecting. That's part of the reason why you even have Nintendo Classic Minis and all kinds of games showing up on the Wii Virtual Console and virtual arcades and things like that, because large numbers of people have become aware of these games and have wanted to play them. And so, you know, companies respond to that by giving them that content. So that's something that you can at least partially commend YouTube retro gamers with, is helping to popularize retro gaming to that level. That being said, if the current prices and things like that in the game collecting world are, you know, to be considered as ruining retro gaming, the blame for that does not fall on the shoulders of a handful of people on YouTube. The blame for that falls squarely on the shoulders of all of us collectively, which is, I guess, kind of ironic. Collectively, collectors are responsible for that. If a seller of something knows that a buyer is going to pay a certain price for that thing, that's what they're going to charge. And we as collectors, and I'm guilty of this too, I'm not like pointing fingers at anybody, but we as collectors covet video games so damn much. We hoard them. I mean, there are so many Facebook posts and so many YouTube pickups videos where it's like, epic haul, I got 100 games off Craigslist, or, you know, something like that. And it's like, wow, you're gonna go home and play 100 games? No, like 90% of those games you aren't even gonna touch. You picked them up so that you could feature them in a photo on Facebook and in your YouTube pickup video, and then they go right to your shelf, and that's where they sit forever. And so whatever those games could be to someone else, they're never going to be that, because there's a thing that sat on your shelf because you had to have more for no explained reason. Why we covet these games so much when there are, I guess, other games to play, or other ways to play these games, or cheaper options. I know that for some people it would really suck if we didn't covet the games so much, because I mean, there are people out there with complete collections of this or that, the NES or whatever system you want to name, and they spent tens of thousands, if not exceeding $100,000 maybe, on those complete collections. And so if everybody woke up one day and decided that they didn't really need them that bad, and they didn't really have to go out and buy all these games constantly every weekend, going out, buy more, then the prices would go way down, and that person who spent all of that money to get all of those games, now they've got essentially worthless hunks of plastic on their hands. They've severely, lost their investment in these games. So for them, yeah, it kind of is in their interest for these things to maintain their value. And for sellers, it's in their interest for these things to maintain their value as well, but they won't maintain that value if collectors don't pay it. And it doesn't seem like collectors are inclined to not pay. Again, I'm guilty of this as well. I've paid exorbitant amounts of money for games when I knew that that money could be better utilized elsewhere. I could buy some other game that would probably be just as fun and wouldn't cost nearly as much money. I could, just refrain, keep that money to myself, and if other people do the same, then maybe the price of that item will go down at some point. But again, it doesn't seem like collectors are compelled to do that. What they're compelled to do is buy up as much as they can, because, as Yell Chaos said in the clip, it's been religionized. These things, they were uncommon or they were rare. No, now they're not just rare or uncommon, they are valuable. And we all collectively have that mentality that certain things are valuable. Why is it valuable? Because we say it's valuable and we spend the money. So if anyone has the blame, it's not a few guys on YouTube making videos about whatever their favorite game is, or whatever their hobby is, going out to a garage sale or a flea market and trying to find video games. no, I don't think the blame falls squarely on them. Collectors as a whole have that responsibility on their collective shoulders because they keep shoveling out money to get more and more games that they can put on their shelves and tell everybody, I have a complete collection of this, I have a complete collection of that, look at that, isn't that cool? So when collectors one day wake up and say, you know what, it's not worth spending all that money on, you know, something that I could play in some other form anyway, or just play something else, why am I going to spend hundreds of dollars to line the pockets of someone who doesn't necessarily give a shit about retro gaming or the hobby or how it makes you feel to share this hobby and experience with other people? Instead, you know, hang on to your money and maybe play the games you already have. A lot of people, and again myself included, have these massive collections of games, and most of them they've never completed, they don't play them ever, and why not just go back and play some of those as opposed to spending hundreds and hundreds more dollars on, you know, games that you don't really need or sometimes don't even want. There are games out there that people don't really want to play them, they just want them because they know, wow, this is a valuable thing, I should want it, and if I see it, I should get it. And I think that all contributes to why retro collecting has been quote-unquote ruined. We just keep shoveling money into the hands of people that don't necessarily give a shit about the hobby that we enjoy or covet so much. So that would be kind of like my answer, my solution to the whole situation. If you think retro game collecting is ruined because the prices are so high, then by all means start your own YouTube channel where you try to convince people to not spend exorbitant amounts of money on games that don't even warrant that kind of cash flow anyway. I'm kind of starting to ramble here. I'm, you know, getting all wrapped up in my own thoughts on this, but that's what I think. I don't think YouTube and YouTubers ruined retro gaming. I think if it is ruined, it's falls on the shoulders of all of us who collect video games. We bear some of the responsibility for that. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on the subject. I'd like to hear all your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the state of retro gaming and game collecting? What hand do you think YouTube and YouTubers had in quote-unquote ruining it, or do you think it's ruined to begin with? And yeah, so let me know, because yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to hear from you all. And with that being said, thank you so much everybody for watching, liking, subscribing, etc., etc. And until next time, take care everybody. Goodbye.